Well, as I'm away for the next week, I thought I'd just do one more session on my big public. I've had a few crackers today, but all in the smaller mid-20 range until this beauty turned up. All 45 pounds of her. Look at that for a unit. Eh? Bloody marvellous. Super stoked, cracking fish from the public, especially on a short 6-hour session. Really got it rocking now and really looking forward to getting some of what we don't know. I just don't know what's in here. Could be some real big girls in here and we don't know. So we're gonna look into that and hopefully this spring, see if I can find a big public 70. There you go. Bloody marvellous. Just a quick one. Gonna head up the fish farm, set the small feeder on the Leany Pond and get off tomorrow up to Billy's. Right, catches guys from a stoked fens. So I get from having a great morning to coming down to the farm, finding this was one of my shooter C1s, an absolute peach. It had like a scattered linear with these pearlescent like pearl scales. Look at it, that's heron, that is, or egret, I would imagine. It's gone straight through it. Again, let somebody tell me, but that looks like it is to me. It's just been spiked straight away. I just don't know why they wouldn't have eaten it. Kept me out of my misery. I cannot believe it. I remember it's been down there, look. I remember hand selecting, I remember hand putting that one in. Absolutely pisses me off. These poxy birds. I've done so much on this water to try and make it safe and yet they still get in. Oh, I just got to get netting, haven't I? I've just got to get netting. It's a massive expense. Oh, I tell you, I have a wicked morning. I've worked hard this last few weeks. I've worked my bloody ring off. Get everything ready. I've had the bloody flood to deal with. And you know, you do your bloody best and you just see your fish just smash like that and bloody killed. It's bloody soul destroying, it is. Pisses me right off. Okay, so as promised, these are the feeder holders that I fabricated based upon basically the bigger feeders that I've got out in the lake. But obviously they're pretty expensive, and if you're just feeding a little stock pond, I'll show you the actual unit itself soon. These little feeders can work really, really well. So it's just 2 skin pipe. What I've done on each of the ends is I put a bead of mastic all around the inside, let that go off, and then pushed a cut an end of a PVC, a piece of PVC, pushed that on, and then masticed around the outside. Did that on both ends, and they seal up really nicely that way. What I suggest doing to avoid any blowouts is put an air hole in, or a hole at least in the top section there, that allows, if it expands during the summer, it doesn't blow the end off. Now what I've noticed with this tubing, which is slightly smaller than the ones that they use for the bigger feeders, is that obviously this can fit a 9mm pellet in, and then you get mice and rats come swimming out onto it, and they eat bloody holes in it like this. So what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to get some 200mm pipe, cut it lengthwise, and then slide it over the top of this all the way along. And of course what that will then do is it'll mean that it'll be a flat surface on there which the rats can't get onto. No food will accumulate there, and they won't get to be eaten inside it. Again, that can cause issues. You get water in there, and then you know you've got a 60-70 kilo of feed in there, and then your floats have got water in and they haven't got the buoyancy that they used to. So it's a pretty simple setup. I've just used some little 6mm rebar, bent that round. This has just got some conduit, it's actually a piece of hose in there, just to give it a little bit of manoeuvrability and expand or contract a little bit the size of the unit that I've put on there. I'll show you that in a minute. And I've just tack welded it down the bottom here. It's a piece of angle, and I've just bolted through. And then this again is just some very thin, I think it's probably 5mm rod, which I've then bent around to hook in and then bolted through across the top and then tightened it up so that forms like a U, holds in. It's quite a simple setup, works really, really well. I've got a smaller one here, it's probably my second one, it's slightly neater. Again, you can see where the bloody mice and rats have been on there. Look, so again, I've got to get on that, put a cover across the top to make sure we don't have that issue again. And this is for a slightly smaller feeder on this one. This just goes onto the Leany pond normally. As I've got more fish in now, I'm going to put the medium-sized feeder on there this time. So I'll get this down there and I'll show you what I mean by the actual feeders that I'm using. Again, there are several different makes out there. Some about 10 times more expensive than others, but are basically exactly the same bloody item. So I'll talk to you about that in a sec. Okay, so there you go. That's the feeder on there now. You can see it in operation. It's a pretty simple setup. You have again, I'll take you through it. I haven't got the time today, but I'll take you through it with a separate video on, you know, setting up the feeders and the amount of feeds that we do on each lake. The different timings and settings and stuff for these feeders. They're pretty basic stuff, but I'll go through it another time. But that's basically your setup. It's solar powered, small battery in there, and that spins around. Something you should know with these types of feeders is that these, which are trying to think of the name, it'll come to me, that make these sort of feeder bins, they say, oh, there it is. It says FIAP there, but it comes from a certain company. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'll put it in the notes. Basically, they say that they handle up to 9mm pellet. Well, they don't. They handle up to a 6mm pellet. If you're going with a 9mm pellet, chances are it'll feed us to start with, but then it just gets blocked up in the hole through here. And it just does not handle it. It just will not handle a 9mm. It all bungs up in there and gets stuck. So if you're away for a week and you think your fish are getting fed, they ain't. So 6mm pellet only is what I'd suggest. This actual feeder unit, what's it say it is? DSF, digital smart feeder. It was just on an eBay, I think, and it was about 70 quid. The ones that came with these actual units were like 400 or something ridiculous. Yes, it might have had a few more settings and you could have done a few more bits and funky stuff with it, but the reality of it is it's basically exactly the same feeder, and you're paying a Freddy Fortuna for it if you get one with a name. So that one's the one that I would go for sure, because then you can have 4 or 5 of them. If you've got a problem with one, you can just swap it out. Takes 2 minutes, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. So anyway, that's the ins and outs of the feeder. I'm going to get it on the lake, get it set up, and get home, because I've got to get packed now to get to Billy's tomorrow and get all the gear ready. So I've got a busy one. So there you have it, a bit of feeder stuff. So I haven't got the gimbal at the moment. I've just been rushing around because I've got a lot on. So this next couple of weeks, I'm sort of in and out of stuff. So I'm going to be up at Billy's. And I intend to do a couple of really in-depth chats with Billy. Billy and myself. Billy is a fish farming, has a fish farmer background, but he's also a lake owner, such as myself in France. So a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge there, and I think it could be really useful for people, prospective buyers, and for people that already have lakes. We're going to go through the full Monty of what you want to be looking for, what you want to be doing in setting up a lake in France. I'm actually going to look for a client and look at his lake tomorrow morning en route to Billy's. So, you know, there's a lot of people get the wool pulled over their eyes with basic stuff over here, and you end up, you think you've got the money to solve the problem, and you've got a whole heap more stuff that you've got to do. So we'll go through it right from the start, from looking at the lake, from using Google Earth and using history search to look at stuff that you can see back in history through Google Earth, through, you know, you're talking to the local mairie and talking to your agent, knowing and understanding the type of water that it is. Is it a closed lake? Has it been dug? Has it got a river running through it? Does it need a diversion stream? Has it got any, you know, like an SSI site over here? And does the DDT know about it? And will the DDT allow you to have it as a closed lake? You know, do you have to put the diversion in, silt traps, etc.? Remembering these rules and regs, they change all the time and they're always upgrading. So you may have a lake that's just about to, that has a license, but it runs out in 3 years' time. And then you're going to get absolutely whacked for about 100 grand if you can't do the work yourself. So we'll go through all of that. We'll go through stocking. We'll go through water quality, testing that. We'll go through the full Monty for you. Be quite a long one, I think. I'll set it up. We'll have a few beers, no doubt, while we're doing it. But hopefully it'll give you a great bit of insight. Another thing with Billy is he's a bait maker, and he's got a massive knowledge and wealth of knowledge of making bait. He's bringing over a spring-based feed bait for us with a lot of immune boosters and stuff. So we'll talk about that as well. Talk about the, you know, the type of ingredients that are now being used. I've touched on them a little bit. And talk about feed rates for your fish in a lot more detail. So although there won't be as many videos in the coming weeks, they'll be in-depth and pretty long. So stay tuned for them. And thanks for following. And if you haven't already done, please subscribe. It really helps us. And it's just nice to see people involved and you know, getting involved in the comment section. So if you've got questions for me, just fire away. Only too pleased to help. All right, I'll catch you all later, guys. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.